Hey everybody, it's Gail, and this is like the 5th time I've tried to make this video, which for a 5th Friday is a rarity. 5th Friday, if you don't know, is when I put out a video on the 5th Friday of a month because there's an extra Friday in the month, and it lets me talk about something crochet related that I may not talk about in my other videos because those are much more focused on projects. And this video has been kind of hard to make because it shouldn't be hard to make. Thank you, dear. It shouldn't be hard to make because I'm just going to take a break. I'm making this video to tell you that there won't be any videos in September and that you should also maybe take a break. And you should stop and rest and evaluate and make sure that your hobby that you love and that I love, this crochet thing that we do, isn't causing you pain. Because if it's causing you pain, you need to take a break. But then the other part of it is that I speak of this as someone with chronic pain. And I've had a few different types. I had severe endometriosis. I still technically do. Like, everything's gone. I had a full hysterectomy years and years ago. But, like, I'm still on hormones because I don't want to have menopause till I'm 50. And so sometimes the endo symptoms come back for a while. They're not nearly as bad, but they do come back. And then not only do I have that, but I had chronic back pain because of my tits for so long. And then we got most of those taken off, and I got my small unnaturals, and that pain is mostly abated. But then my hip's gone out on me again. I have my left hip, I have a hip impingement, which means the joint doesn't work quite right. And, last October, the cortisone shot I had gotten from the October before wore off, and then it took me 6 months to go to the doctor and get recommended out to physical therapy and sports medicine. Because, and this will be very familiar to you if you have chronic pain, I wasn't paying attention to it. If you don't know, chronic pain makes you immune to your own pain in certain ways. It's not that I can't feel it. Like, I'm standing up right now. I can feel that my hip is sore. I can feel that my lower back is sore because my hip is sore. I can feel all of it. I don't fucking care. Not because, oh, it's no big deal. It's a minor injury. It'll fix itself. No, because it will always come back. Do you understand? Like, and that's part of why it's hard to make this video, because I want to be honest with you, not just about, hey, I want you to take a break, take care of yourself, but also because within the crochet community, there is a high level of disabled people who also crochet. And I am one of them, although I don't really, look the part, quote unquote, but I have pain, I have body issues, and I work very hard to try to remember to take care of myself because, like, using my cane when my hip hurts improves the amount of pain I'm in. But also, my hip's been in pain since October, even though I've gone through PT, even though I've gotten 3 different shots from the sports medicine doctor. And so, fuck my cane. But also don't fuck my cane. My cane is so useful, and I'm so glad I finally did it. But to talk about taking a break because my body is in pain, I can't disconnect that from the fact that I have a level of pain that I am in every day. And so I tried to make this very straightforward and, take care of yourself, make sure you're taking breaks. But the truth of the matter is, I'm really bad at taking my own advice because the ideal amount of pain is 0. And that sounds like a lie to me. Because my pain isn't 0. I don't know that I know what it feels like to be without pain. Like, I have moments of it, Like, you wake up, and I'm sure a lot of you who go through pain issues understand this. Some days you get up and you feel pretty good. And, like, everything's moving the way it's supposed to be moving. And, like, you get a few hours where it's all great. And then, in my case, I had several days of no pain in my hip because we'd figured out which of the ligaments was being the biggest asshole and stuck a huge needle in there. And I was like, this is great. We finally solved it. I can do more PT again. This is exciting. And then I tripped over a piece of uneven sidewalk. I didn't fall. Okay, my toe caught and I did like a hard jerk forward. My hip's fucked again. And the thing about chronic pain is that it gets worse over time for any number of reasons. In the case of my hip, it's because it's a joint that I use a lot and it was already fucked up, and there's no unfucking it. Yes, I can do PT, and I really like PT, honestly. I can do PT. I can go to sports medicine and talk to the doctors about, like, what are my options to help bring the inflammation down so PT is more useful to me and then I can do more of it. But at the end of the day, my hip is only going to get worse. And so when that is just a fact of your life, it can be difficult to remember that other kinds of pain that you're in are very fixable. And in my case, what finally made me realize exactly how much I had been stitching and exactly how much I needed to take a break was that my joints went off on me. My hand joints, my joints feel real fat right now. That's the best description I have. Like, they feel larger than they should be. And I know from past experience that I am very close to going over the edge and doing something that will fuck me for months. You know how I learned this? Because I've had several crochet-related injuries that fucked me for months. My neck, I have a spot on my shoulder that will knot up in the smallest chance it gets because of a crochet injury that goes up into my neck. It's actually the neck that is the problem, but it's connected to that knot in the shoulder. I fucked up my left arm for months because I crocheted. I went like fugue state on a baby blanket, and the only thing that finally let it heal, I'm not joking, was the breast reduction. Because my boob was so heavy, it was pulling on one of the muscles that was affected by fucking up my whole arm from stitching too much. And that muscle couldn't just sit there and relax. And then about 6 weeks after my breast reduction, I realized my hand didn't hurt anymore. I didn't have the tingles anymore. I didn't have the pain in my elbow anymore. So, like, and that's just, if you don't know about chronic pain, that's chronic pain 101, is shit happens and you go, that hurts. But, like, I got 4 other things that hurt. And then eventually you go, oh, okay, this is outside of the usual amount of hurt. And usually by that time, you're way past what anyone who does not have chronic pain would consider to be a reasonable amount of pain. At least that's my experience. And so I'm trying very, very hard to not fuck myself over again, to not fuck up my back, to not fuck up my arm. No joke. One time, because I was crocheting so much, I pulled a tip muscle. Did you know you could do that? Like, a pec, whatever. But, like, the muscle right here, that muscle was completely fucked for a couple of months. And so, I want this to be an encouraging video to stop, take breaks. You know, you love your hobby. I love my hobby. I clearly love my hobby. But if we don't stop and take care of our body as one of our tools, the hobby's going to be harder to do. And I want to especially, and I think that's the thing, as I realized as I was trying to film this, I want to especially say to my fellow disabled stitchers, stop and evaluate. Okay? Stop and consider, do you hurt more than you should? Because we all know what our baseline is. We all know what our normal is with pain. Is your normal worse than usual? And is it because you're stitching? And I know it's very difficult when your disability makes it hard for you to do other things to have to put down a hobby as engaging and helpful as crochet. But if you do it now, hopefully, whatever is causing you the most pain, in my case it's my knuckles, giving my knuckles time to rest and to not feel so fat and inflamed means that a couple of weeks from now, I can start stitching again. And I will be better off for it in the long run because I stopped before I injured myself severely again. And so I think that's why this video has been hard to make, because I wanted to come on and be myself and be straightforward, but there's no way for me to talk about this without talking about living with pain, and it's a complicated place to be. My body is what it is. I do my best to work with it. But also, it's hard to explain chronic pain to people who don't have it, because even the most well-meaning people who are trying to understand it, sounds bogus to them that you could constantly go around with pain and, not be on the floor with it, basically. But like, my options are live with it and figure out what the limitations are and continue to live with it, or be on the floor. And I don't want to be on the fucking floor. That's pretty much it. I went through severe endometriosis. I have my hip now, which is my biggest problem. I've fucked up my back a few times crocheting. My back was fucked up because of my tits for years. Like, it is hard for me to stop and evaluate and take care of myself when it is about some sort of physical pain. But I'm going to stop. I'm going to take care of myself. There will be no videos in September. Videos will resume in October. And the reason I picked September is because I finished all the August videos except for this one. So it just was a really good time to say, okay, we stop. Because if I don't put anything up for September, that gives me the space to stop and rest. Hopefully, I'm aiming for 2 weeks. We'll see how it goes. And I'm filming this at the beginning of July. And so for the first part of July, I'm going to try to rest myself. And by the time I am posting stuff you haven't seen yet again, I will not only have rested, but had time to keep working on things at what I am going to try very hard to make a more sedate pace. And this happens every now and again. I get way too into stitching and I have to stop and recalibrate myself. And remember to take my own fucking advice about taking breaks, resting, thinking long term about wanting to continue my hobby and not just be enthralled with what I'm working on. So there we go. Okay. I'm going with this take. I'm probably not going to watch it too closely when I'm editing it, so I don't decide to remake it again. I will see you in October. Take fucking care of yourselves. Alright? Alright. Also, I don't want any shit in my comments about trying yoga. Alright? None.